Hey everybody, welcome back to Just Roll It Already, the podcast dedicated to tabletop role-playing games and bettering roleplay. I'm your host, Daryl.
I'm your other host, Jeremiah.
And I'm John.
Okay, and now we are going to be talking about John's favorite thing to talk about.
Rolls?
No.
Oh.
Not rules. Rules is your pastime. Today we're going to be talking about John's second favorite thing, magic.
Magic.
And
yes.
how to abuse the living daylights out of it by knowing what kind it is.
Well, not abuse. I'm not going to say abuse. More like there's a very fine distinction between different types of magic. And
how to abuse them.
Well, obviously, but the point is, there's, for starters, the most traditional form of magic in D&D, for instance, namely 3.5 and below, is a type of magic called Vancian magic. It's actually named after... it was named in a book, or the term was coined in a book. I can't remember the author's name off the top of my head, but there's Vancian magic, and then there's the more traditional, or less than, but commonly used, magic is innate in the blood, like sorcerers.
Yeah, so wizards versus sorcerers.
Wizards versus sorcerers, and you have things that are not necessarily magic, like psionics, or kinesis from, like something like Aeon Trinity. Kinesis, like, psychokinesis, or...
Also, divine magic.
Well, is that magic really in the... That's almost... that's a give to kind of like sorcerers.
A Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, like we're talking about like how something is learned versus...
something that is...
It's not
priests and stuff learned through like scripture.
Then what about magic that's such as the ones that we talked about earlier? Magic that can do anything. It's not exactly advancing, nor is it a just given. Magic is weaved into whatever you wish to be.
Something like
God power.
So there are words of creation in 3.5.
There's word magic. Yeah, there's
word magic, and it is deific. It is literally what the gods use to create the world. Those are the words.
And there's also true name.
True name magic too.
Yeah, where you speak the true name of something in it.
So this is kind of like to let you guys know, this is going to be turning out to be more like a heavy D&D 3.5.4.0 Pathfinder, any sword and sorcery game that uses wizards.
It's really because, and we use D&D because it has some of the best examples that on a broad most players can identify with. I mean, really.
And it's the most commonly used that people actually know.
So let's get into the first type of magic. I'm trying to remember exactly what the book was, but Vancian magic is specifically that a player does not simply... They have their starting spell, if they're lucky. They'll get cantrips, things that they can do innately. But other than that, to find more spells, they must find and research magic.
So if magic is rare to find, then suddenly you have to hunt down...
The whole quest is to have your wizard's arms fireball.
So
wizard.
He's going from one ancient library to the other, or he's looking for lost places like the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah.
Or something like that. You're like, oh, these scrolls are extremely rare.
I don't know how... It's hard for me to say because I love the idea of, like, the charisma caster. Someone who's like, I'm innately magical. But I also love the idea of that you're like going around and gathering...
ancient knowledge.
And just knowledge, just gathering books and using those...
It's literally a campaign unto itself.
Because the charisma-based caster has no goal other than to be powerful. The wizard, though, has a goal of collecting knowledge, not for the sake of spells, but just so, it's how you want to see it. I like that. It's really
knowledge
nice.
is the best provision for old age. Were those Aristotle? I might be incorrect.
Yeah.
But
or Plato. One of Socrates' lower generations.
Yeah, one of the Socratic. Yeah. Okay. So these that's basically what it consists of. Is just you got to learn your magic. It's not just given to you. The second type that we're going to talk about is
you can call it innate magic.
Innate magic or sorcery. Sorcery.
Yeah. Bloodline. Yeah.
It's bloodline magic. Yeah. Something that is a magic that is definitively a magic. It's not based on any sort of like physical possibility, like most magic. So it's a true magic, and it is just innate. You cast. You have a huge potential within your body, and you don't you can't learn more from reading ancient script. It has to be you master your own power.
It's your imagination.
So pretty much you imagine like, okay, I'm a person that, for whatever reason, I can move things with my mind using Ghost Hand.
Yeah.
And then when bandits break into your house and he's attacking you, suddenly you're like, oh no, don't hurt me, magic missile.
Yeah.
And then follows by later on, he thinks if I can shoot these little tiny force bubble thingies at people, then
shoot fireballs.
I can. What if I try to focus on making
But
Snow!
Or some kind of missile, if you will.
That's the big difference, though, is that sorcerers, they feel it innately. Wizards have to master it. The sorcerers feels it innately. It's like, I can manipulate it this way, but if I do it this way, because they feel they have the potential. Wizards have to.
Or you know what's funny? Bard. They've always described sorcerer. It's in your blood. You're descended from dragons or demons or fey creatures. Wizards, 30 years dedicated to the study of wizardry. Bard. I have a pretty voice and I use it to cast magic. Really?
Counter song. I imagine counter song is just the most. It's probably the final countdown. Every time I hear.
If you sing it out of tune, we can't be copyrights.
Yeah, I know.
But how do you describe bards their magic? How does that come?
It's not exactly divine, nor is it arcane.
It was described as arcane.
It is arcane magic.
No, but archaic.
Arcane. Yeah. It's not true name. True names. I love making true name bard. Bards who use word magic.
But I guess they're just kind of. They're Jedi. Okay, I just call them Jedis and just call it done.
They have Metatorians and they wield the Force.
Yeah, they are.
No, they're definitely something more akin to a sorcerer because they're using their force of will or their force of presence, their charisma, to
at the same time,
evoke something.
At the same time, they're also kind of like a wizard because they've learned a bit of their trade.
So it's like a median. It's like a fine median.
Let's since we've identified all these. Let's pretty much tell everyone what exactly this point is. Not all games run like D&D 3.5. If you take a World of Darkness look at it, or you might say, I like the idea of a tome, you read through it, and suddenly something happens. You do the circle, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Advancing magic.
Okay.
But this will define how your game runs, how it feels.
It will, because
the more you apply these kind of knowledges, understanding of what these things do, can add new things. There's one that we failed to cover: supernatural.
Psionics or Kinesics.
Yeah, which fall under supernatural.
They're kind of supernatural. So psionics are literally your ability, your force of mind. It's less force of presence, charisma. It's your force of mind. And psionics is a big thing, and it's hotly debated as don't allow these books in a 3.5 game. I personally don't care. I will throw 4 Yetis at a level 3 party. I don't care. Yetis over CR3.
I've
damn near killed all you.
I have not. Yeah, when we found that out.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I thought I was doing right.
I've never really played a psionic much. I've played classes that are considered psionic, like Soul Knife, which technically isn't because it doesn't have power points or powers. It just has its Soul Knife, which counts as psionic for the purposes of damage.
And it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of weapons.
It is, but beyond that, a Soul Knife is meh. But beyond that, I've not had a lot of experience with psionics. Really,
it's kind of like taboo.
My problem with psionics that I had in games, a lot of people have this problem too. People abuse it. They say they can do anything with it, and sometimes it's true. But again, educate yourself.
There is one form of psionics. I guess it is a form of psionics that is you can do anything with it. And that's Kinesis, which comes out of specifically I'm referencing the set that comes out of the Aeon Trinity and Aeon Aberrant.
You pick up the 20-ton truck and you fling it at somebody.
We're not talking riffs here. We're not Super Frog from riffs.
No.
We're not Slappy.
We're not smashing the frog.
Slappy the frog. We're not Slappy the frog. Yes, I mean Slappy the frog. He was a riffs character. He could throw.
Or Slappy the frog, the serial character.
Okay, so whatever.
The point is, Kinesis is like psychokinesis, vitakinesis, electrokinesis,
telekinesis.
So
telekinesis
literally, for you to make pyrokinesis, you're literally understanding. Shake it enough, the molecules will cause it to burst into flame.
Yeah, psychokinesis is literally you're creating force with your mind, or creating energy with your mind. So
it's like a foos,
pyro, cryo, telekinesis, all of that falls under psychokinesis. And you can find more about this if you just look at the Aeon Trinity books.
Again, this will determine how your game feels to begin with.
Yeah, what you're going to use for your game.
The way Kinesis influences or affects the game is that it's not you're making an attack roll. It's a World of Darkness setting, so you're not making an attack roll. It's more intrigue. It's like I'm going to melt this girder using psychokinesis and cause it to fall. I'm going to heat water, entertain a kid. Who knows?
I have the powers to
We're not playing Mage the Ascension here.
Yeah.
We're playing.
It has practical use. It's just it can be very volatile, especially biokinetics. They literally have as a final ability, they can literally touch somebody and turn them to goo.
So they
disassemble molecular disassembly.
Now, I would like
Okay.
to note though, like for the different kinds of magics, when you do like now this is how I've always had the feeling, psionics. It's like sci-fi. I really do a heavy sci-fi because I mean, psionics is in 3.5,
Yeah.
and it does fit well in 3.5 universe. You know, with the whole Faerun and all that, or depending on what setting you're doing. But
Okay.
it seems more like space. Like,
So wrapping it up. Understanding how to use these magics, these types of magic, as some of you can assume, these supernatural abilities, whatever. The purpose we actually identified and to explain them is so that people can think about it, understand what they do, how to use them in their games, and what they will do to your games and how it makes it feel.
yeah, how it makes the theme of your game feel. Yeah.
Yes, but that's why we actually decided to use this as a topic. It may seem like a bunch of jargon that you might know. Some people might think, like, what are these guys talking about? In short, John knows what he's talking about. We're listening. We give our 2 bits and how we can explain it works.
There needs to be a clear, definitive.
Lines. That's all it is.
It needs to be explained.
Magic's not magic for the sake of being magic. There's different types.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in a little bit. I'm Daryl.
I'm Jeremiah.
No.
Have a good day.